The Elder Scrolls 6, one of my most beloved fantasy RPG franchises ever. I've been playing the Elder Scrolls games since Oblivion, and I went back to play Morrowind after I heard the great reviews that it got, and I've spent more than 700 hours in Skyrim alone, so I think I have a valid opinion on what I think should be in the next Elder Scrolls. Now, of course, the most important part about the Elder Scrolls is the new province. Bethesda have said that they don't like doing the same kind of environment twice, and they have done Morrowind with this high fantasy setting, and Oblivion which is this medium middle age fantasy, and Skyrim which is dark Viking fantasy. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Elder Scrolls 6 Argonia, which of course will be set in Blackmoors, because Blackmoors was called Argonia like a long time ago, around the first era I think, don't quote me on that. Well, that is a possibility. I don't think they will do that. Some people have also said that since Elsewhere and Valenwood is so small of countries, they will mash them together to make one big game out of those two provinces. And I don't think they'll do that, because they'll just scale the landscape. That's what they'll do. I don't think they'll do that because there'll also be a lot more research to the different kind of cultures and a lot more work, and I would prefer they stick to one province at a time anyways. Now, what I really think they'll do is either Valenwood or Hammerfell. Well, I'm really leaning towards Hammerfell because it's a great way to continue the story between the humans and the elves, since Hammerfell is no longer a part of the Empire, and the Alt-Mary Dominion, or the Thalmor as they're called, wants to take over Hammerfell, since the Redguard people, they drove out the Thalmor from Hammerfell. Now, there is also the different story outcomes that there were in Skyrim. For example, who won the civil war that happened in Skyrim? Was it the Empire or the Stormcloaks? I'm pretty sure that'll still be going on in the Elder Scrolls 6, and there'll be some kind of war towards the Thalmor and the Stormcloaks. Now that the Empire is going towards the Thalmor, the Stormcloaks will then unite with the Empire and Hammerfell as well to overtake the Thalmor in Hammerfell, because that's a real hostile area towards the Thalmor. And Hammerfell would be a pretty cool place because they have got deserts and underground cities. That's so cool. We have never seen that in any Elder Scrolls games before. And Valenwood is those high trees, like a rainforesty place, and that would also be pretty cool setting. But I'm leaning more towards Hammerfell though, and we only got to explore a little bit of Hammerfell in Daggerfall. I've heard some talk that some people want the Elder Scrolls 6 to be replaced on the whole of Akavir, and Akavir is like almost as big as Tamriel itself, and that's just the worst idea I've ever heard. Skyrim took about 4 to 5 years to make, and Akavir is about 6 times larger than Skyrim, and that means that it'll take like 20 years for that to be done if we want the same amount of love and detail as we had in Skyrim. And I don't think anyone wants to wait that long. It'll just be a waste of both money and time, so they'll do one province at a time. A game could be placed on Akavir because there is intelligent life on Akavir. There is 3 dominant intelligent races on Akavir, and I'll just put a picture of them on screen now to show my point. There is also some other story potential in Hammerfell. For example, the Dremmer. There is a few Dremmer ruins in Hammerfell. All the other Elder Scrolls games have followed a chronological, I can't say that word, time period, so I would be pretty surprised if the next Elder Scrolls games went back in time to explain a previous event. Will the Elder Scrolls 6 be announced at this year's E3? Unfortunately, I don't think so. Let me put some reasoning behind this, because a lot of people seem to think so. Fallout 4 was released about half a year ago and was announced a year ago, and they won't announce the Elder Scrolls 6 because that will kill the last theme that the Fallout 4 franchise, or Fallout 4 game, had back in it, for sales that is. The Bethesda crew itself is not a big crew. They expanded recently, but they're still not at that point where they can release AAA titles every single year. I think that the next Elder Scrolls game will be announced next year at the next E3. Now, there is always a chance that the Elder Scrolls will be announced to this year's E3, but it's really small, so don't get your hopes up for it. Next year it's higher, and next year it's higher again, since the Fallout 4 game just came out. So the next big open world IP that they're probably gonna put out is the next Elder Scrolls. In the next video, we'll be discussing magic. So that's gonna be fun.